Happy Friday. Oh my gosh, what's going on here? It's like, oh yeah, happy Friday. That's right. I love a live show. Happy Friday. Welcome to another amazing episode of the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. If you are watching us live, now that's right, we are doing a live show. Hey, hit the subscribe, share, like, and comment. If you want to see all the other episodes of this Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast, please go here, engagingvirtualmeetings.online, and subscribe on one of your 13 amazing platforms that you love to listen to podcasts onto. And of course, make sure and check your calendar for October 1, 2, and 3 for the Engaging Conference. You can get a free ticket here at engagingvirtualmeetings.com/CON. It will be hybrid for the first time, so you can come join us here in Seattle or anywhere in the world online. All right, so back here to a beautiful sunny day in Seattle, and I'm so excited about our next guest here. Our next guest created Momentology. She uses human-centered design principles to provide thought leadership, and she's one of my amazing speaker friends. Let's welcome the one and only Malaika Simmons. What's up, Malaika?
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being on the show. So I love the Hamilton in the background. Where did you get that from?
Oh, thank you. One of my colleagues, I saw it and I had Hamilton envy. I had to get one. Um, it is my favorite, one of my favorite musicals ever. So yeah, I had to have it.
Fun fact, I heard that Hamilton has 6 times the average number of words of any Broadway play because it's done in the style of rap.
Wow. That that kind of makes sense though. It's a lot going on. It's a lot going on, right?
There's certainly a lot. And I finally got to see it live here in Seattle.
Very
And
cool.
yeah. So it was exciting to finally see. Okay, but meanwhile, more about you. Malaika, do us a favor. For my friends who don't know you, take a moment to introduce yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Absolutely. I am Malaika, as in I like a Malaika. And I am the founder and CEO of Momentology Media, and I'm also the creator of the Momentology Method. Momentology is the study and practice with an emphasis on practice. So you can think a thing, but it's what you do with it that's important. Of operating in the now, succeeding with what you have right now in this moment, and leveraging all the things that you forgot about for your own good.
It's beautiful. Again, you got a chance to meet my friend Wands, who's working on something called Wandsology. So talk to me about the genesis. Where did Momentology, or was it born as an idea either in your head, or how did you bring it out to the world?
Well, it was something. So, first of all, I love neuroscience and history, and it's sort of an amalgamation of a lot of things, right? So, it's a little bit of neuroscience, a little bit of new thought. If you know anything about like Robert Collier and Wallace Wattles, and um, I had been studying for a really long time, unofficially, just why we do what we do, why we think what we think, decision making, and that sort of thing. And I've been
Yep.
in leadership in different roles for a really long time, and I just noticed that there was an underlying truth that I couldn't quite get at early on in my career, and it just kind of I say it got downloaded into my spirit, and it happened to coincide with the birth of my daughter. And so
Hmm.
I had been studying these things for a while. I didn't have a name for it. It wasn't like a gimmick, like I wasn't trying to start a company. Actually, I wasn't trying to start anything. I was just trying to get my own sanity. And for some reason, when my daughter came, it just, that it just hit me. It's like, it's momentology. And I was invited to write a book with Brian Tracy. So I am a longtime Jim Rohn fan and Bob Proctor.
Yeah.
I followed Bob Proctor for many, many years.
Yeah.
And so I was invited in my sphere to write a book with Brian Tracy, and I had to come up with a name for my chapter. And Momentology. So Momentology was born. I called it the Momentology Manifesto at the time years ago. But yeah, so that's how Momentology came about. It was just really me taking all the theories and things that I had been writing and thinking about for several years, and it's kind of putting it all together.
I love that part. And I think, I guess it gives you the part that your daughter, of course, is a gift. And it does remind me of a quote. I said this earlier to a friend today, too, that sometimes when you don't find your dream, you find your destiny.
Hmm.
And sometimes that momentology has to do with that. This was a person I was talking to, and she had been in law enforcement for 30 years, and she made the key reason so that she would could stay close to her parents, right? And then when it came after her parents, didn't need her care anymore, she just goes, "I'm so invested now inside the law enforcement federal system that she took it all the way through." And so, again, sometimes when people they have a dream to be something else, but if they don't get that dream, sometimes they find something better, right? They're destined.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we use all of our parts and pieces, right? So I've been a long time, I've been in federal contracting and the public health and clinical research for a very long time. But there was always some piece. I'm also a human-centered design strategist. So I love design thinking, all its parts and pieces, everything about thinking about how we interact with humans. And I
Hmm.
had been doing that for a long time before I even knew that there was a name for it. Like I found out about design thinking almost by accident. And then I'm like, wow, this really ties into momentology in a weird sort of way because it really is about the individual. So every single person that picks up momentology is going to use it differently. They're
Hmm.
going to use it based on their lived experiences. They're going to use it based on what they want out of the world, how they want to show up in the world, and what goals they have for themselves. So I think all the things we don't waste anything. We sometimes we think we do. We're like, oh, I should have got this degree or I should have gone down this path. There's nothing that's wasted.
Mm. I love that too. That I think I found this. Let me make sure and check with you. This is the correct book.
Yes, that is Success
There,
Blueprint. Yep.
right? And you can see here below that Malaika right here is one of the
That's
authors.
me. That's me.
And one of my claim to fames here too is that I was, or I'm still am, a big Tony Robbins fan, and I got invited, and I actually flew down to Jim Rohn's memorial.
Wow.
So I'd love to hear, like, why did you follow either Jim Rohn or Brian Tracy? What influence did either of these two people have in your life?
So Jim Rohn, it 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 kind of went from like Jim Rohn to Les Brown, which I still absolutely love Les Brown and follow him to this
Yeah,
day. He's
yeah,
just a joy. um,
yes,
he said something, the Les Brown, one time that just resonated with me so deeply about being the difference between being a thermostat and a thermometer, right? And so a thermometer takes the temperature of the room where a thermostat sets it. And I love that so much. And he's like, basically, you should be a thermostat. When you walk in a room, it should accommodate to who you are. I was like, yes. And that takes a lot of confidence. It takes a lot of everything that Jim Rohn and Les Brown and others talk about. But that's
yeah.
something that has stuck with me for a really long time. So yeah, I'm in that Les Brown, Jim Rohn camp. And I found a video. I believe it was a video years ago on Jim Rohn, and I just loved his demeanor. He was just like I could just sit there, like I binge before binge was really a thing. Like YouTube has been out for a really long time, but before the binging, I binged Jim Rohn everything. I just
Yeah,
was so enamored of his style, of
yeah,
the way he makes things seem so simple.
yeah,
So yeah, I wish I had the opportunity to meet him, but then you fall down that rabbit hole. So I went from Jim Rohn. I
yep.
already knew who Les Brown was, and then I went to Bob Proctor,
Oh yeah,
and oh my
yeah.
gosh, Bob Proctor. So
This is
I started signing up for Bob Proctor courses,
yeah.
and his birthday and my daughter's birthday are the same day. So it was a dream of mine to maybe one day introduce my daughter to Bob on their shared birthday.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he passed away, but yeah, I just, it's something about them that just rang true.
Well, I'm a member, of course, of the National Speakers Association, and I don't know if you heard, but Les Brown was announced as the keynote speaker in Denver this summer.
Oh, cool. No, I didn't know that. I didn't
And
know.
he walked the hall last year after the gala. He was just hanging out because he's been a member of National Speakers Association for a long time, but he didn't speak, so he was really like on the down low. But like
Right.
everybody was talking like Les Brown is in the house, right? And yeah, all of these names are like the OG of speaking and personal development and all the other things that are really, really important. You should check that out. If you're anywhere near Denver, like I tell you, go search those dreams. If that's the dream is to meet some of these people in person, look for those opportunities because I think it'll make a difference in your life. It's made a difference in mine. So
Yeah.
um, So, what's something? Give me an example of maybe somebody you've helped with momentology. Like, what did they take from you that they applied and maybe turned into like something important in their life? I'm just curious if you have an example.
I do. There are so many examples of my favorite. So I used to be a Toastmaster club president. It was my favorite thing. So when I first got introduced into Toastmasters, I just fell in love with it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
fell in love with Toastmasters and I like ran for president immediately. And then I wound up being president for like 2 years. It was
Bravo.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, and something that matter of fact, I sold my first book at a Toastmasters conference.
Woo.
So one of the things that I learned how much I love facilitating discovery is through Toastmasters because I loved when I would get people that come along and sit in the back of the room and they don't
Yeah.
really want to participate. And they go from that to doing a table topic to actually like going for a contest. So I've been in several Toastmaster contests.
Yeah.
Um, and I encouraged them to, to get into a contest and just seeing people go from someone who was sitting in the back of the room to someone who had enough confidence in their speaking ability to actually compete. I think that's fantastic. And so I take everything
Mm.
with me. My momentology, I eat, sleep, live, breathe it. So everything about me is momentology. But specifically, I had a young lady come up to me at a Toastmasters, and she's just like, "I'm terrified of speaking. I can't. I'm just terrified." Um, we worked together, and she went from being "I can't speak, I'm terrified of speaking" to speaking at conferences. So I think that it's a personal win for her, but that's just a win for me in terms of just seeing somebody be able to use their voice is just really what is why I do what I do.
Well, and it sounds like you were a talker. So, did you know you were a talker when you grew up?
Oh, 100%. This I know my mother is so glad I found something to do with this. Yes, I was always a talker. I was always a people person. So I'm an empath. I've
Mm.
always been very into what people are feeling. And
Mhm.
ever since I was really little, my grandmother actually thought I was going to work for the UN. She was like, "That's going to be your thing." Because I've always loved languages.
Mm.
So I can say thank you in about 46 languages. And I started when I was really young. I would just ask people, "How do you say thank you?" And it just became a thing. And so gratitude is my favorite human emotion. So it just kind of it grew on me. So now I just do it all the time.
I just do it all the time. All right. Well, I earned this thing recently, the certified speaking professional. Love always talking with other speaking professionals. So, what's like two or three tips or techniques that you love to share with like other people that you're trying to help, help them develop their speaking skill?
Yes. So one is I found some people have hard time with eye contact, right? Because they don't know where to look. They're like, "Where do I look when I'm doing my talk?" Right? And so the very first, and I think this is kind of like speaker 101,
Yeah.
is to look for their friendly face, right? Because sometimes we get so petrified. We actually think the audience is out to get us, and they're not. Generally speaking, I mean, yes, there are occasions when you have a tough audience, but generally speaking, they want you to win. They're here to hear you, right? They're in the room because they think you have something to give. So give them what they came for, right? Give them what they came for and find a friendly face and connect and have a conversation. So a lot of times I think what speakers do is they have their prepared talk and they're so specific about getting to all of their points, they forget that they're supposed to be transforming right from human to human. And so if you find a friendly face in the audience and speak to that one, and maybe find another one. And if someone smiles that didn't smile before, look at them and smile back. You can actually do that. You can actually have a conversation. And when I'm speaking, I very frequently call people out. So I come from a family of teachers. I do not have calling you out. So sometimes I will call on an audience member directly, or I will speak directly to them because it makes it more human, right? So if you had the opportunity to talk to someone directly, even if it's just ask them a quick question, right? I think it helps you to put your guard down a little bit. So one is look for a friendly face. Two is smile back when they smile at you. It's okay. And then three is maybe even engage them in a question or two while you're speaking.
Those are great tips. I talk about engagement. And even if you say somebody's name, even if you don't do anything, if they were nodding off, right, it'd be like, Fred would be like, boom. Fred will come right back to you and go, what's happening? Why'd you say my name?
Yeah.
And there's ways to do that are really fun. Uh, and know that you're paying attention to the audience. Recently, I had a person too, and while they were trying to make eye contact, right? What we end up noticing on the video replay is that they were doing this, right? So the word problem about this is like if I'm trying to make a key point, and I'm really trying to get you to change your life. I don't think that Malik at any time here thinks like, "Are you ever talking to me? I don't know what you're doing. You're like robo scanning for something." And so sometimes we've given feedback to speakers like, make your key point to like one person,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can then go to somebody else and then make your key point to that person, but don't scan right while you're saying some really, really important things.
And I think
Somebody else, right? Oh, go ahead.
no, I was going to say I think you make a good point about the virtual versus in person too, because you should act accordingly, right? And
Yes.
so if you're
Right.
on right here, you find the camera and you speak to the camera if you're making a particular point. But also, if you have all the face bubbles that are on your Zoom meetings when you're doing a virtual meeting, again, I have called people out like, hey, and it depends. It always depends on your audience, but I will call some folks out and go, hey, I see your camera's off. Are you hiding? What's going on? Uh,
Talk
uh,
to me. That's
yeah,
right.
right. Talk to me. And it's almost always gone very well, right? And usually people just like the other thing, people need to be invited. They need to be
Yeah.
invited into the conversation.
Say more. Say more about invitation and how do you make your invitations? I like that.
Yeah, so I let people know at the beginning, hey, this is a forum where we are going to do X, Y, and Z. I invite you to turn your camera on, be a part of the conversation. I even forewarn them that I may call on them if they don't come so that they know that they're expected to actually participate because there are so many different types of meetings that, and sometimes people have so many meetings on their calendar. They're in this thing because they have to be, right? Like we don't know why people are joining all of the things that we may be facilitating. And
Yeah.
so we want to make sure we understand or help them to understand what their role is and how much we are expecting them to participate because maybe they don't know that you're expecting them to participate. So I invite them to participate with me. I tell them I'm going to call on you. You can raise your hand, all of this stuff. Just have conversations.
What is the difference though between speaking and facilitation for you? Because I know that you're a passionate facilitator too, right?
I love facilitating. That's like my favorite.
Look at
Um,
you light up. I love that you
I
lead
do,
it.
I do, I do.
Hello.
It is my favorite thing in the world. Okay, so speaking, facilitating, team building, some of these things are, somewhat synonymous sometimes, right? Speaking for me, if you get on a stage, no matter, I can speak to one or 1,000, doesn't make me any difference. But if you get on a stage, I try to still make it as personal as I can, but you are limited if you're on a stage to how much you can do. Facilitating, even if it's virtual, you can just so much more you can do. You can do breakouts and you can do all different sorts of activities. And if I can do an in-person facilitation,
Mhm.
oh, you're in charge. If I can get my hands on you, oh, it's yeah,
It's
you're
over. It's over in a good way. But
it is it's over. I'm bringing all the sticky notes, all the markers, all the stuffed animals. Don't ask me what we do with stuffed animals, but we do stuff with stuffed animals. Like we're doing maps, all sorts of things. I have activities, I have blindfolds. Like I love facilitating. It's my absolute favorite. But we get results. We come to solutions. We help you to think differently than you did when you walked in the door. And that doesn't mean you always get the exact solution because I work with a lot of government people, right? And they're like, we want an answer by the end of the session. Doesn't work that way.
don't always
doesn't
work
always
that
work
way.
that way,
Yeah, yeah.
right? But you get on the path to solutioning in a way that you weren't prior to coming to the session. And that's the most important thing.
Yeah, so let's talk virtual for a little bit then. Obviously, you had your share of virtual meetings over the last 4 years. What had to happen for you, for Malaika, on a virtual meeting? You're the attendee, by the way, right?
Okay.
What has to happen for Malaika to be like engaged in that virtual meeting?
Um, I really like when people are talking to me specifically like they and I don't even mean me, but like talking to people in the room,
Mm.
right? Yeah. So I've been on a lot, yeah, since the pandemic. We've been on a lot of virtual meetings, and some of them we had one time we had a a magician, which I didn't think was going to work virtually, and somehow he knocked it out of the park. He did a great job. So there's all sorts of things you can do. I am waiting for the time where I can do the virtual meeting and I can have like a drone drop off some stuff. So wink, wink, John, I might be calling you up, right? Like I think it would be awesome to be in the middle of a meeting and tell my all my participants, I need you to go to the door right now. And then have a drop down. Like that's the way I think about facilitation. I think that
Cool.
doing something out of the ordinary that people are not expecting is really good. I did one years ago for Medicare and Medicaid services. So CMS had a need for human-centered design training, and we were doing some work on how do you teach researchers or non-researchers research techniques. So I love starting from like rudimentary and building people up. And one of
Mhm.
the things that we did is I was trying to show them how to have empathy, right? And we don't think we're empathetic until we get tested, right? But the way that I help them to understand empathy is using a real world example. Okay, this was right after the pandemic just had basically gotten started.
Mhm.
All of us parents had to be at home teachers. And so I said the whole exercise was pretend that you now have to make your desk child friendly so that your child can be in class. And so I had them literally go off that. And I told them to turn their microphones off in case they bump their heads and they use a certain amount of expletives on the call. But I wanted them to scan their desk, look for all the faulty places where a toddler or a young person could injure themselves, or what might they need? Do they need a juice box stand? Like innovating in real time. And it was so good. We came up with all sorts of things that we should have just sent off to the patent office of inventions, right? Of
Wow.
how to make your space at home more child friendly. And so it's just doing those sorts of things where people are not really expecting to be engaged is what I'll be looking for. If I'm in the audience, I want you to engage me in a way that I wasn't expecting.
Beautiful. Let me just check this too. On the drone side, my cousin, I guess it was my brother's son, is now working for Google on drone delivery. I think right now the place they can do it is Texas.
Mm,
And so they can do things like drop off. I think the weight limit is like 25, 30 pounds or something.
okay.
It's more than I thought. And so you could one day do that. It's coming, right?
It's
Maybe in our
coming. Okay.
lifetime it'll happen, but I can tell you that, I mean, they
Yeah.
are doing it today in a small set of community. The other one that I have is that have you ever heard of the Association for Experiential Education?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so you should check out the AEE. And I discovered them in the early stages of my team building career because you'll never look at Home Depot the same way, Malika, right? When you other people go to Home Depot, they see nails and PVC pipe and 4x4s and stuff, right? Team builders come in there and they're like, that's how we can teach collaboration. That's how we can teach, different mindset. This is how we can teach innovation. And so
Exactly.
I learned how to build all these amazing team initiatives, and I learned how to build thousands of them, but I only use a small selection of them, Malika, because they are so strong in teaching a particular lesson or something that I want to teach.
Hmm.
All right. And so I really love that model because I am really somebody was just he was on a chamber podcast and he's just like, how do we engage the chamber members? And I'm like, make them do something.
Make them do something.
Make
That is so.
'em
I got invited. I got asked
Yeah.
to volunteer for future business leaders of America.
Oh yeah,
Like they
FBLA. Yeah.
right? So for my daughter at the time was in the fourth grade, and they sent home this thing asking parents, like anybody, right? They would just grab hold of a warm body. Um, could you could you come in and then we'll give you the materials and you can do this thing, right? And so I told my daughter, I said, "Oh, sure, I'll do it." And she's like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Should I be frightened? Like, well, how bad can fourth graders be, right?" So I took the future business FBLA. I took
Yeah.
their components that they gave me, but I wrapped it in Momentology, and it was so fantastic. I had little entrepreneurs. I came in at the first day. I was only supposed to do a day, and the teacher came back and said, "Oh my gosh, the kids love you and they want you to come back. Can you just do it all week?" So I wound up doing a whole week instead of a day of FBLA with fourth graders. I had them doing commercials. I had them talking about character building for entrepreneurs. It was so fantastic using momentology principles. So yeah, all ages. All
All
ages.
right, well, Malika, I think you asked for more opportunities to use Momentology in the world. I'm going to give you one.
Okay.
Okay, have you ever heard of Tony Robbins' Global Youth Leadership Summit?
No.
400 to 500 of the top youth from around the world come to who want to make their lives better. And right, while Tony doesn't present live at this project, this is what they call TNT, Tony not there, but he has some of the top speakers there, and I run the team building. I've run the team building now for over a decade for this program. So if you want to come and inspire youth, you could choose to be one of the what is it called? I think it's a captain. You can't. There's only like 14 team leaders, so you'd have to work your way into that position. But you can be
Yeah.
a captain on a team and actually bring Momentology to some
Yeah,
youth
that'd
from
be
around the
very cool.
world. So,
Yes,
so
thank you.
week
That'd be
long in San Diego. I look forward. I'm like I'm only 80% sure I'll be there again this year, but
mhm.
soon I should be a no for 100%. And
Okay.
so that's an opportunity for you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So speaking of opportunity, what's the other part? Opportunity. So in a world where Momentology took over, right? You're as big as, let's pretend like Oprah or somebody, Brene Brown, I don't know, you choose a name.
Right.
And so what's happening in the future, like virtual and hybrid, what would you want to see happen, 10 or more years in the future? And by the way, but while you think about that, I want to give a shout out to Kristen Minch, who is watching us on YouTube. And she says, "Hi, John and Malaika. Great stuff as always. I can relate to the lots of the talking and being such a people person."
Awesome. Thank you. So what do I want to see in the future? Is that what the question is in terms of virtual? Okay. In momentology. So I want the human species to learn to be more empathetic in all the dealings. I think from the top down, from the heads of Fortune 100 organizations on down, in both directions, right? Bi-directionally. I think we should be teaching this at high level organizations, and I think we should be teaching it in elementary schools about how to see people for who they are
Hmm.
and how to improve the circles and multiple circles that we let people into conversations. And I think that's what team building is about. That's what when you're hired as a speaker to come, they want some sort of transformation. Like they could
Yeah.
just put some bullets up on the right. If they didn't need a speaker, they would just put some bullets up on the board. They want some sort of human to human connection and transformation. And I think if we can create that and multiply that
Yeah.
over and over again, that's what I want to see. My mission is to empower 1,000 women to empower 1,000 women. And the reason I didn't just say a million is because I really believe it's the connection and the connection and the connection that will happen. So that is my heart's dream, is that momentology can be both at the highest levels of government and corporations, as well as in the school system, in terms of just seeing people just as people and building things together. That's what I really would like to say.
Oh, your mission sounds exactly like my good friend Bobby Carlton, who has the website Innovation Women, innovationwomen.com.
Yes, I know Bobby.
Yeah, so Bobby,
Yes,
yeah, and
I
she
know
has
of her.
the
I've never talked to her specifically, but yes, she's fantastic.
you have to get on our website because getting on our website is next step of getting more women on stage.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
that's one of the ways, yeah, to achieve a lot of these goals. Okay, so this is a new feature inside of the podcast
Mhm.
that I've been calling Speed Round.
Uh-oh.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you questions, and your job is to answer them as fast as possible. Are you okay with that?
Sure. Maybe.
I just called you out of the audience. Oh wait, there's nobody else here, just you and
Right,
I.
right, right, right. Okay. All right. You gotta practice what you preach. Let's go. Let's go.
Okay, here we go. Favorite speaker you haven't mentioned yet?
Hmm. You would start with a hard one. Favorite. Gosh, I don't know. Because I read off so many of them. I don't know.
Choose one. Anyone.
John Chen.
Oh, wait. Hey. Okay. A skill you have that you don't use for work.
Skill I had that don't use.
This is a
Um,
harder question.
I draw.
You
I draw.
draw.
hmm I do
Oh, okay.
sketch. Yeah.
I can't wait to see a drawing. Your your favorite quote.
Favorite quote. Faith it till you make it. I love it because I rather have faith than be fake. So I like faith it till you make it over fake it till you make it.
Then who to you has the best smile?
My daughter.
Yeah, of course. Who's the who's the best virtual speaker you've seen in the last 4 years?
Oh, that's not fair because that was you. Sorry, seriously, the thing you did for Speaker Speak Live was fantastic, and so that was the first time I'd been in another room with a virtual speaker in a while. So you got it hands down.
Wow.
You're
Honored. Thank you. Uh,
welcome. Very cool.
what's your top personal value?
Gratitude.
Oh, let's see. Wait. Do I have the right one for that? That's this. Wait. Okay.
Yeah, they're
Gratitude. I love that.
pushing your buttons over there.
I
Yeah.
am. I'm push. I got to figure out which button to push. What's your funniest call out you ever made to an audience?
Funniest call out. I was doing a congressional briefing with members of Congress, and it happened to happen on April 15th. So I kind of teased them that they all should have their taxes done and ready. So that probably was the funniest one, I
Okay,
think.
ready? Here we go. Okay. The best invitation you have ever received.
Oh, that's the invitation. So it's by proxy. My daughter is ninth grader and she's interested in med school and she's gotten an award and an invitation to be future leaders of medicine. And so it's not mine, but it's just makes my heart happy.
It's still the best. Okay, that's great. That's a good
Yeah.
one. Okay, your favorite musician.
mm, Bob Marley, I think.
Ooh, this is not reggae. That's the only music I don't have any royalty-free reggae. Okay. How do you feel big rooms with energy? You know, like you talked to like you were talking like Proctor and some of those. Like the room should change. You're the thermostat, right?
Right.
How do you change the thermostat in a positive way in a big room?
If I have the opportunity, I try to mingle in the audience before I get on stage.
Oh, I
Uh,
love that.
so I want them to. I like talking to people, and then them seeing me on stage, like, wait, wasn't I just talking to you? Was that
Yeah.
right?
Don't
That's
tell them. Don't tell them you're the keynote speaker.
right,
Yeah, that's my
right.
favorite.
That's one of my favorite ways. And then there we're fast friends. And so when I get on the stage, I've got a room full of friends already. And that really brings energy up in the room.
It, and my add-on for that, Malika, too, is start in the back of the room.
hmm
You
Oh, I
sit down
love
next to somebody.
wallflowers.
What?
I
Yeah.
I love wallflowers. They're my favorite because my son is an introvert, right? You could peel him off he could be part of the wallpaper if you weren't if you weren't close. So I absolutely love talking to people and kind of just giving them some space, right? Because maybe
Mm,
they're not going to raise their hand when I call out, but at least they know I saw them.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. A top moment for you, the momentologist. What's a top moment for you?
When I did my TED talk, uh, that was it was so different. I didn't know what to expect. It wasn't even like anything that I could expect, and it was fantastic. So yeah, the TEDx was.
Coming on the stage. Oh yeah, sorry. That's my TED Talk music. Okay. My last speed round question is: what's your wish for 2024?
um, for humanity to collectively take a breath. We're just moving too fast, too hard, too negative. I just need us to collectively breathe. That would be fantastic.
Well, good. Well, I'll take a breath with you, Malika. Thank you so much for
Okay.
joining me on the program. Again, we gave you a link too, so check out Malaika on LinkedIn. Leads also to her website about Momentology. You know, if you had a magic wand and you could actually get somebody to remember one thing from this interview, Malaika, what do you think that one thing would be?
Gratitude. I think it's the foundation. We can do so much if we're thankful. You'll never have more of what you want until you want what you already have.
What? Wait, say that last one again.
You'll never have more of what you want until you want what you already have.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm totally in agreement with you now. Well, excellent. Well, Malaika, thank you so much for joining us here on the show. Right. Success to you. And I look forward to the next time we can actually go
Yeah.
hang out somewhere besides our good friends Marty Dickinson's Speakers
Right.
Speak Live.
Right. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, this is John Chen. This has been another amazing episode of the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. We've been visiting with Malaika Simmons, who says gratitude. Right? Think about what are you grateful today? If you are listening to this right here at the end, just chat us. Kristen's here is chatting me away here too. Kristen, chat me one thing that you're really grateful for, and then see if your life changes. Speaking of changing your life, make sure and subscribe, share, or like a comment on this podcast as we've been growing our amazing audience. If you want all the episodes, you can go back and get a new episode every Wednesday at engagingvirtualmeetings.online. Make sure and subscribe and check it out, right? This is a gift to you that I'm grateful to be able to give to you. You can go to engagingvirtualmeetings/con. You can grab one of our free tickets and be in the audience for the Engaging Conference on October 1, 2, and 3. So thank you so much. And again, think about what are you grateful for? We'll see you next time here on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast.
Don't we start people and keep whole people? Show you God.